Hi, I'm Claire White, and I'm here interviewing Erika Stanish from KDKA in Pittsburgh. So, our first question, what year did you graduate from Uniontown High School?
I graduated in 2010 from the high school.
Okay, and did you always knew you wanted to be a news reporter?
Yes, I would say I've always been interested in this career path since I was probably 8 years old, maybe even younger than that. So I just started getting involved in activities that I thought would help me get to where I want to be one day.
Cool. So what interested you about this specific career?
I've just always been interested in the news, and I just like talking to people, and whenever you're out on any story, you're getting to know someone, you're asking them questions, and you have to genuinely like what you do, and I also like to inform people about what's going on. If you're at a really big breaking news story, I want to make sure I'm telling you exactly what's happening and how that's going to help you or affect you, whether it's just an accident on the road or a fire or, it could be anything. So I've just always been really interested and I want to help inform our viewers.
Cool. So where did you go to college?
I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, graduated in 2014, and I majored in communications, minored in journalism.
Okay. And where was your first job and what were your daily tasks?
So my first job would have technically been in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, WJC, and I started out as the morning reporter. I would go to any breaking news happening that morning, anything, that's your typical job. But then I transferred into what we call a general assignment reporter. And your daily task will be finding your story. It is up to the reporters to find the story of the day. You do not just get handed the story, which can be difficult, and that's why you have to be very informed on what's happening in your area. So you'll find your story, make calls to set up an interview, go do the interview. At this stage in the career, you're typically using the camera yourself if you don't have someone setting up the camera and helping you. So I would go set it up, do the interview, head back to the station, and that's where I would listen back to the interview, take my notes, write your news script, and then you even have to edit it all together. And that all happens, and then you have to go set up your camera again and go live. And again, at this stage in a typical news career, you're doing it all by yourself. And then from there, as you move up, it might get a little easier and you'll get a little help. So you'll have a very busy day, and then when it's all over, you have to write your web script.
Oh my goodness. So did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved every second of it, and from my time in Johnstown, I went to Oklahoma City, and that is just news central, whether it's weather, of course, you have tornadoes, or just there's always big news happening there. So that's also where I got into investigative reporting, where it's a deep dive into some other stories, and that was really exciting for me, and I got to figure out kind of who I was as a news reporter.
Cool. So where do you work now?
I work at KDKA in Pittsburgh, Channel 2.
Was the journey to where you are now difficult?
You have to show that you know what you're doing. The business and the markets are changing a little bit right now, where someone out of college might be able to get a job at a pretty high news market, and that's just a whole long story we probably don't have time for. But it's challenging, you have to prove yourself, and it took me about almost 8 years before I made it back to Pittsburgh, and I knew that's where I wanted to be because this is where home is.
So what were some challenges you faced?
Well, you can't beat yourself up. That's like my best advice, because you're going to mess up naturally, whether it's when you're doing your live report or maybe you're interviewing someone, and you just can't be hard on yourself. Those are challenges that you face, because the harder you are on yourself, the more difficult you make the job almost. Other challenges, it kind of just depends on the story and where you are, I guess, but you learn a lot on the way, and you just have to keep trying if you want it,
That's really good. So What is something you wished you knew in high school?
Well, I feel like when I was in high school, I didn't really believe that I would have to write all my news stories. I don't know why I thought that. I was totally oblivious, and I wasn't watching the news enough. You know, if you want to be in this career, you've got to watch the news. You know, you've got to know what's going on. You've got to read the newspaper. You've got to stay informed. And I think young Erika back in the day just thought, oh, I'll just go and they'll hand me my script and they'll tell me what to say, and I'm just going to say it because I can talk. And then there's so much more work behind it.
What advice would you give high school students interested in your field?
I would say just work really hard, you know, stay informed, pay attention, don't give up. Like I said, a big thing, I talk to so many people in this career, and they're so hard on themselves, and that can make or break you. It's crazy to hear that or believe it, but some people are like, I'm just not meant to do this because they're so hard on themselves. Because you do have viewers criticizing you, and they're critical of everything that you do. You have to stay true to the facts. You know, you can't sway based on your opinion. I had another one. I can't think of what it is, but if it comes back to me, I will let you know.
Okay. Were you involved in any sports or activities that led you to your career choice?
I don't know if it led me to my career choice. You know, in high school I did track and cross country. I was part of the diving team and the swim team. I was also a dancer. I kind of did it all. Even at one point I was a cheerleader. I played basketball. I literally did it all. But in the meantime, I was also in 4-H, and I think that kind of set me on my path, just because I was in a communications club. You know, I would find clubs that were, you know, of my interest, and you know, and I mentioned to you before that we started this interview, I did the school announcements if I could. So anything that I could to practice what I like to do to lead me, you know, where I wanted to be.
Cool. And finally, what do you find most rewarding about your job?
Let's see. You know, I find it really important to tell people stories. Sometimes it's on the worst days of their lives, you know, and like I said, you just meet so many people, and it's just rewarding to know that they will trust you with their story to report it correctly, and sometimes you can even help families in need, and I find that, you know, really rewarding.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the best.
Thank you so much.